Hi and welcome back to 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗀𝗀. In today's video, we're going to dive down into the world of Vechain, take a look at what's going on with the price action of VET. In light of the recent pullback with Bitcoin, what is likely to happen here with Vechain? We're going to dive down and have a look. Guys, as we get into it, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and you will be kept up to date with all of the videos that we do here at 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗀𝗀. Now, in the description down below, you will find a link to our Discord server. Why not go ahead and check it out? It's completely free and you'll find a fantastic community down there where we talk crypto pretty much 24/7. Of course, if you have any questions, you can feel free to mention myself or Chris and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Of course, in the description below, you'll also find links to Patreon. Now, in Patreon, if you're looking for a bit more from the crypto space around strategies, accumulation and bear markets and all of that kind of good stuff, and Patreon only a live stream with me and Chris, then why not check that out as well? Right, with all that said, done, and out of the way, let's jump on down into the desktop and take a look at what's going on here with Vechain. Okay, guys, so we're going to be taking a look at this hourly view to start with, right? There's certainly some downward trends that we probably want to kind of talk about as we go potentially lower with VET. Now, we'll also talk about what this looks like on the bigger timeframes too, so we get a good idea of what's going on right now, what's going on medium term, and what's going on in the slightly longer term. Okay, so for starters, obviously, we want to kind of talk about there was a big ABC correction here. This took us down into that range of about 7.1, right into our red zone here. This was kind of where I was expecting us to kind of start to see a bit of a reversal. We actually have a little bit more room to go by the looks of it. So as I zoom on in here, we can actually zoom in a little bit further. We can see we had the ABC up, okay, again, corrective, nothing impulsive here, okay, it's all just very choppy kind of corrective action. We obviously start to see this pullback right down here. Now, there's lots of different ways we can draw this, okay? We have it as the ABC right now, taking us down towards the potential low of 6.4 cent, okay, good opportunity to buy. This is an area that we haven't seen since, I think, July 2021, okay? So this could be an opportunity to kind of get into a bigger position with VET if that's your bag. Or we could draw this as an impulsive move. Now, let's actually, we have our target here, 6.4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly mark this up with a horizontal ray just down here. Then I'm going to delete that fib out of the way. And at the same time, I'm going to remove the ABC, okay? Because the other way of drawing this is through an impulsive move. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, still not crossing wave 1, and then we're coming down into that next step. Now, if we do this, what we're actually looking for is effectively a 1.618, and that brings us down close to our C wave target at 6.5. Okay, so again, we are looking for some kind of interesting moves. Now, when we take a look at this impulsive move, it's not very neat. Now, it's not neat at all, in fact. If we actually take hold of this measurement here and we throw it on top of our second wave, we know that we definitely were impulsive going down with that move. But normally you would expect the third wave to usually be the longest wave. In this case, it would be wave 5, taking us down lower. And again, this is a really deep retracement for that wave 4. And again, we can check that by using our price range here, and we throw that up. We can see that pulled up 8.5% there, quite deep, almost crossing over that area of the wave 1, and I'll mark that up there at 7.6. So we know that that's a very deep correction, and again, we can obviously take this from a Fibonacci perspective as well, from that high point. I'll actually take it from that low point. I'll take it from here. And we'll move it here. You can see, that retracement that we've had is very deep. It's actually, very reasonable. If I actually move that up slightly higher, you can see it's above that 382, heading to the 236. So very deep retracement, and we can obviously look at it from a bounce perspective as well. If we take it from the high of wave 2 down to that low of wave 3, you can see this comes into the 702 right there. So again, it's a little bit higher than the 618 right there on the 702, heading towards that 786. So that's a good natural kind of turning point for us. So we knew that was an area of reversal. So what are we looking for? Well, we are looking for downtrend here. We are looking at potentially coming down lower than this area here, which was 6.8. So we got two targets that we kind of aiming for. And this is where we start to then think about, what might actually happen next. We've got 6.5 and 6.4. Those are the areas that we are thinking about. Okay, as we potentially start to think about, and maybe we start to see a move to the downside here. that's actually quite large in nature. Okay, so there is a move here. It's potentially going to see us come down to about this mid-range point of around 7.1. But I think we're probably going to see a bit of a pullback, quite a significant one that takes us down lower than this area. And again, that is expected in line with either an ABC move or whether you look at it from an impulsive. However you want to kind of draw it, and they all fit technically speaking. Okay, two different targets though, 6.4 or 6.5. So on our smaller time frame, we are expecting that downtrend. This is pretty much aligned to what Bitcoin is looking to do here on its chart, right? We have these two lower targets at around $37,000 for Bitcoin, but this does come after a small push to the upside. Okay, so we are looking for Bitcoin to kind of come up a little bit. Yeah, I'm actually looking for it to come up to about at least 42,600 and then start to see that next pullback, right? So when it comes to Vechain, we know that we potentially are going to trade sideways, maybe hover around this area before we start to see this lower range. Okay, so I think there's time if we want to kind of lock profit in before starting to see this downtrend. Obviously not financial advice. I'm not going to be taking part in that. I'm not selling, and I'm literally just going to hold my way through it because of long-term vision. Okay, so I'll get into the slightly longer-term stuff in a moment. But right now we are looking at downward trend on the smaller time frame. This should be over relatively quick. When I say quick, a week, maybe 2 weeks, that's relatively quick. Okay, medium term, you're talking, weeks into months, and obviously long-term months into years. Okay, so as we start to think about what's going on here, we should be, really seriously considering downward trend towards those lower levels. Now, of course, there are multiple areas that could hold out really well for us. So we want to be aware of these on that journey to the downside. Obviously, we're wicking down quite low here, but we're not closing. Okay, so let me just grab that. This little box here, this is pretty much just where we're wicking into but not closing in. So again, it's very possible that we actually have a wick that comes down here very fast and reverses, really, really rapidly. So watch out for some interesting stuff. I think we're going to see some volatility in the market on the short time frames. I think there's definitely a lot of more leverage positions now going short, and that causes or creates, I should say, a lot of liquidity at very specific price points, and you can bet your bottom dollar that the whales are going to be noticing that liquidity and going after it. So do watch out if you're on leverage and things like that. I reckon we're going to see a couple of things. We're going to see short positions increase. As you see short positions increase, you'll see the price reverse up. Okay, stomping out and liquidating that leverage position, and then continue that growth to the upside. As we often say on this channel, we find things that bounce around, right? We believe in Elliott theory. We watch Elliott theory. We align the rules to it, and you can see how things just bounce around, right? Your direction is still there, but pockets of liquidity are getting mopped up on the way. Okay, you saw Binance buy 43,000 Bitcoin. But did you see the price move up? No. And this is because they are utilizing these pockets of liquidity to accumulate without actually doing anything to the price. They're just kind of stabilizing. So it's an interesting kind of stuff going on in the moment. So watch out for that. On the shorter time frame, we are looking to pull back. So let's actually take it up to the next level. What about our daily view? Now, our daily view, we were, really kind of, encouraged by what we were seeing here in terms of this Elliott wave triangle. Now, this triangle is definitely being tested hard right now, okay, to the point where we can almost argue this is not likely to occur. Obviously, as I say, wave D is the critical one. We need to see wave D come in before we can start thinking about wave E. Now, it's not completely out of the bag yet because we are still seeing this downtrend here. And as we start to think about maybe pulling down into this lower range, completing this maybe this C wave to a low point that actually we haven't even started our D wave. So we are going to be watching that and seeing how that plays out. There was quite a sharp decrease here from the top of wave B, and we are looking to move up. Now, if Bitcoin does continue its journey to the upside, as per the other videos and things that I've been looking at in terms of $77,000, that could be where we actually start to see wave D come in before we actually pull back into wave E and then blast off. So watching out for this. It's not invalidated yet, but it's getting very, very close. So I'm keeping a close eye on this triangle. And this is again our medium term, right? We were looking to push up towards 16 cent before pulling back down into this range of around 8 cent or so. Right now, obviously, this trend line is not so important because we can, of course, move it around to where the C wave actually finishes. And we only need 2 touch points on this trend line to be valid. So on this triangle, we can continue to move this as long as it is an ascending triangle. or an ascending trend line here, it's perfectly fine, but we should be aware that this potentially is going to move down here a little bit, and we still have 2 touch points. So as long as we have 2 touch points on this trend line, we should be okay. And if we do pull down, this actually will hopefully complete out that C wave, where we still have the possibility of a D wave up there. But we are looking for invalidations to make sure that nothing major goes wrong here. But triangle, yeah, very interesting kind of stuff on the small, kind of the medium term picture, right? So this is something that will play out over several weeks into months. I do not anticipate this kind of really taking full effect until probably the end of Q1, Q2. Around that kind of time, I do expect us to kind of move up nicely here with Vechain. Okay, so then that brings us into our fourth, the third chart, I should say, which of course happens to be our weekly, right? And our weekly is very, very good. We are heavily oversold on our weekly chart, and we are looking for good progression to the upside. So right now we should acknowledge that we have good amounts of positions here, heavily oversold, really low, but we are looking to kind of reach that bottom, which Bitcoin looks like it's trying to do, and then start to see this move to the upside. Now, when we take a look at this, we can of course acknowledge that we have gone down lower than the previous wave. Okay, so what we have here is effectively, if I actually get this into the right stage here, 5 waves up. Okay, wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which hasn't really started for Vechain yet. We've kind of just been kind of going along sideways here, but we had this A, B, C to the downside within the 4th wave. It's why you can argue this is kind of closed out. Then we had an A, B, C to the upside just here on our weekly. Okay, A, B, and C, and now we're actually tracking this A wave down, a B wave, and we potentially come down lower into that C wave for that completion. Once that kind of comes in, now obviously this is a really shallow C wave if it does come in near that low. So it's a possibility that we want to be aware that we could pull back even lower. But I think that's less likely. I do think we're going to hold out really strongly in this area, specifically around this area that we've been in before, which would be like 6.3 or so. 6.342, just over here in July. Like I said, this yellow box area is a good accumulation point that we haven't seen for quite some time, and we've been down here before. We've seen this kind of action, this massive surge to the upside, and along with a triangle, this massive break to the upside could be had. Now, in terms of thinking, several months down the line, we obviously do have the trend-based Fibonacci retracement and extensions. This is actually looking at the trends of the bull run in its entirety, right? So I've spoken about this before, but the low end of wave 2, the high end of wave 3, the low end of wave 4. Take those 3 trends, okay? So what we have there is the downtrend of wave 2, the uptrend of wave 3, and the downtrend of wave 4. It then tries to predict out the next wave to the upside, and this actually shows us with a 4.236 extension coming in at $1.20. Okay, so as we start to think about progressing through this chart, we have obviously spoken about what's going on right now on the hourly chart. We're heavily overbought. We are likely to have a pullback to the downside. That downside is looking like it's going to be pulling down into 6.4 to 6.5 cent, into that range. Then of course we build that up into our slightly longer term. What's going on with our daily chart? What are we expecting to kind of see here? Well, we're expecting the downward trend, yes, but we're also expecting to try to reach up to 16 cent before pulling back down into 8.5. This completes the triangle. Then completing that triangle really feeds into that explosive move that we're looking for here in terms of moving out to that trend-based fib extension of 4.236 at $1.20. Again, this relies on all of those small steps actually happening first, and while we started to build this up. Now, some of my older videos, I was heavily talking about, the weekly chart first, then the daily, then the hourly, and I've flipped this around to start to build up from the ground up, right? So we're starting to think, okay, what's going on right now? What should we really be worrying about? What should we be really thinking about right now? What's going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours? Then layer in what's going to happen over the next few weeks and, potentially going into a couple of months. And then, of course, we layer on top of that, where do we think things are going by the end of the bull run? Where do we think things are going in the next several months to potentially even a year? Okay, and that's really where the weekly chart comes in. Okay, so it's important that we understand that there are going to be, various different things going on various different timelines. The hourly is looking very bearish right now. We're looking to pull back. We're looking to find that lower low. And of course, the daily, it's very disappointed to see that we haven't quite got that traction to the upside just yet, but we are still expecting ourselves to push up into that wave D, where we are looking for 16 cent. Of course, once we get there, do expect more downturn. We are looking to see that thing pop all the way down back to 8.5 cent before it absolutely launches. So there are lots of things going on, but when we actually zoom right the way back out and look at the weekly chart, things are looking very, very good for Vechain in the slightly longer term. So whether you are a hodler, an active trader, hopefully this video has been useful and informative. If it has, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with every video that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.